So I got done watching Penguin's Zero video a couple of days ago, and I've been wanting to respond to it. I'm going to have his segments laid out throughout this video, as well as my responses to those segments. I didn't watch all of the Nikocado Avocado video either. I just watched the segments from his video and like the first couple of seconds where he's wearing the panda mask. And yes, I'm holding a condenser microphone because I don't have a mic thing for the desk and I don't have an actual microphone stand, so I get to look like a complete fool holding a condenser microphone in my hand. Oh well. So, without further ado,
this moment right here is this generation's I Am Your Father. This is up there with the Darth Vader identity reveal. Perhaps one of the most unexpected things I've seen in quite some time. When I was watching this, I let out an audible whoa. Like I couldn't help myself. My body responded without any other part of me having say-so over it. My body itself, my soul, was shocked when he took the mask off there. So he gives like a villain monologue that sounds like it's out of the Fallout universe, talking about how he's 2 steps ahead because he had played the villain for so long now.
Today I woke up from a very long dream, and I also woke up having lost 250 pounds off of my body. Yet just yesterday, people were calling me fat and sick and boring.
Losing 250 pounds is an unbelievable feat that's nothing shy of extraordinary. And he mentions how even yesterday, YouTubers and many other people were calling him sad, fat, depressing, sick, and all of that, and still making videos about him, even while he secretly, over the course of 2 years, had been losing all of that weight. And all the videos that people were talking about were actually videos that Nikocado had filmed 2 years prior and kept drip feeding to the community to keep them either entertained or keep himself fanning the flames of drama for people to latch on to. It is actually very fascinating.
see, I don't know what this whole villain monologue is and this whole villain arc that he's trying to play up. I mean, it seems like he's just trying to create himself to be something more than what he is. He was just an overweight person or obese, excuse me, I'll use correct words here. Person on the internet who was eating himself to an early grave, essentially. I don't really know how that's villainous per se, maybe to yourself. As far as this extraordinary feat, maybe I'm not giving enough credit where it's due because I've lost a considerable amount of weight myself before. Like, I went all the way from 343 to like 216. As you could see, that was my heaviest when I was 343 pounds. And then you can see that's where I was at my lightest, 216 pounds. And I guess to me, it's just if he was like 600 pounds, I could see that being extraordinary. But just 250, I mean, the guy was skinny when he first started. That's the thing. Like, if he was like always overweight, you know, for instance, like someone like me, and even me being 343 and going down to 216 and, you know, hopefully going even lower in the future. I'll have to explain my personal issues with weight in a little bit, but it's, even to me, going down 100 and something odd pounds, it's just, I don't know, it's not that big of a deal to me. It's not that hard to lose that weight. The only reason why it's hard for most people is because they don't eat right and they don't exercise. And those are very easy changes to make if you want to make them. I'm not quite sure why it's so fascinating. I mean, a lot of artists in general, like musicians, will record stuff after they passed, like release recordings. Excuse me, gosh, I just cannot get this right today. Will release recordings after they've passed, not themselves personally. Obviously, they're passed, they're gone. It's like the company or people that knew them, to keep interest going. And some of them, even when they're on a hiatus, will release like EPs or other things that they were working on in between time. So I don't really see how that's fascinating, but maybe to you it is. Not a big deal. I just personally have seen it and heard about it enough to not think that way.
Was not only extremely surprising, just given how much weight he had lost in a relatively short period of time. I know to a lot of people, 2 years, like on the internet terms, that's like ancient history. Things that happened 2 years ago, that might as well be the void century that no one remembers. But like speaking realistically, 2 years to lose 250 pounds, that's a speed run. Those are gold splits.
I haven't made a video for like 2 years, and this is where I'm posting now on this channel. So I hope you consider subscribing if you want. I'm actually posting more next week, so yeah, that would mean a lot to me.
On his second channel, he mentions that it's been 2 years since he's made a video, so you can piece little breadcrumbs together in your head and follow this path here, connecting the dots.
And then also, in this short amount of time, again, not really. It's very possible to lose 100 pounds a year, which equates to a little bit under 10 pounds a month. In my opinion, you could lose 120 a year. For instance, 3,500 kcals is literally 1 pound of body fat. So if you just reduce your caloric intake, you have to do a TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure, before you can even figure that out. But if you do that and you figure out how much you're burning in each exercise, which again, that's kind of difficult too. It's kind of more of a rough estimate. Even my Apple Watch, whenever I do my exercises, I feel like it really, really overestimates how much I'm actually burning. But you could usually, just do like a middle number or something. Like whenever I'm doing cycling stuff, it says I burn like 400 kcals. I'm going to go with more like 250 probably. So you eat in a deficit, you work out, and it becomes very easy to start getting to that number. The problem is a lot of people don't portion, myself included, by the way. That's why you got to use one of these things. And I get it. It sucks. Nobody wants to sit around and weigh all their food. But I mean, after I've done that a few times, I've been like, wow, I'm using way more than I thought I did. And we really don't need as much food as we think we need. Interestingly enough, I mean, the human stomach is not that big. And I don't really know pound for pound how much, but I think it's like 2 to 3 pounds a day of food. Like that's on average that you probably should eat. And I think some people eat probably double that. Because they're snacking throughout the day, or, I'm only going to have a couple of this or a couple of that, and then it ends up being like a huge meal before you realize it, because, same thing with spending money, you buy one little thing here, one little thing there, and then eventually just boom, it adds up. So, but again, I really want to stress, I don't see how it's so phenomenal for this guy to have lost all the weight when he started off skinny. If he was a YouTuber that has like Boogie2988, who was in like obese his whole life or whatever, at least the majority of the time he's been online, and like super obese, like how he actually is, I could see that being like, whoa, that would whoa to me. But for some guy who was already skinny, just taking on, I guess, like, I don't know, some kind of alternate identity for like, the lulz or whatever, and then just going back to what he was already doing. I mean, he already knew how to be that way originally. That's why he was that way when he originally started. So I don't know, the fascination and the excitement, I understand why the community has it, but for me, I don't see how it's merited, considering I don't see how it has merit, considering he's been skinny before. Just a quick aside, by the way, Nikocado avocado, don't pet your birds right there. You need to pet them on the head, and I think you can do it like kind of under the beak and on the beak, but don't pet them right there, because those sounds that bird is making, it thinks you're its mate, and you are doing things to it that humans shouldn't do to any other animal besides another human. If you guys catch my drift.
I have always somewhat believed that there was always an element of truth to some of the things Nick was saying. I really do believe that Nick was miserable with what he was doing, but felt like he had to keep doing it because that was his source of income. That was his livelihood. And he was probably very afraid to just stop doing that. Which is completely understandable, because if people are subscribing to watch you eat yourself to death and you stop doing that, they might leave. And now you've got your ass in your ass and no money being generated anymore because the audience left from you not doing the content they wanted you to be doing. And I really do feel like he felt like he was a prisoner to that for a while. I'm not trying to be an armchair psychologist here, it's just I've watched a lot of Nick's content and it really does feel like there is a lot of truth to...
Okay, this particular segment kind of got me a little, I don't know, confused, because you're saying like, well, the money's just going to dry up from the money well if you don't do this content. Penguins Zero, you and Nikocado Avocado get millions and millions and millions of views, which is a huge, huge revenue stream. I wish that I could have 1% of what you probably make, because that would set me on a course of pretty good living, considering what's going on right now with me. And I don't know how much more he gets than you, because I don't know your guys' figures. You guys don't release them, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody should. But to say, I gotta stop doing mukbangs because if I do any other content, the money, blah, blah, blah. At that point, after he's made that much money for that many years, he should have a financial advisor, and you should be investing his money. Now, if you're talking like this because you both burn through your cash and you have no money, like how Boogie2988 did, where he explicitly said he burned like over 300 grand, which is insanity. Like, dude, when I got hit by a car in 2011 and they broke my femur, I got a $50,000 settlement, and I burned through that in a year. And that is crazy. To burn through 6 times that and have nothing to show for it. I mean, he has a house, I guess, but just a house and that's it. Like, nothing else beyond that. It's astonishing how people can have that much financial revenue and burn through it. If you have not already done this, Penguins Zero, get a financial advisor. Because you, right now, as you sit, if you stopped YouTube, you should have enough money to ride you through the rest of your existence. Same with Nikocado Avocado. That's why when you make this statement, it's like you act like he's like a YouTuber with like 100,000 subs and he's getting like 10,000 hits a video. He's got 3 million and you have even more. And you guys both get millions of views. I mean, just 1 million view video I read can go anywhere from like 10 to 30 grand. That's like most people's income in an entire year. So I don't know. I don't really, this part of the video really kind of irked me, because like, why do some people who are on here who make monumental amounts of money, excuse me, say things like this, like as if they have a livelihood being threatened? It's like, what are you doing with your money, dude? You should have tons of it. Like oodles of noodles, dude. Just like in the video where he's eating all those noodles. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
The video on his main channel about it is exploding. The video on his second channel is exploding. He's made 2 videos and both are popping the fuck off. His community is showing nothing but love and oodles of support for this. And it's what people have said for a long time, that if Nick actually did go through this weight loss journey, it'd probably be extremely good for him. Like, not only health-wise, but like in terms of his channels and like his community. It's inspirational. Like, people would love to see that, and I think it's clearly showing here. And it's not like Nick has to stop doing mukbangs just because he loses a lot of weight. And it seems like he is going to continue to do mukbangs because he loves doing them.
We were all just dreaming. Cheers. And I love being a mukbanger. I love food. I like eating food. And I like being here. So let me know what you think.
Just because he's lost 250 pounds doesn't mean that he's washed.
Yes, it was extremely good for him, which again kind of contradicts your previous statement about he's a prisoner to this mukbang stuff. Well, look, he's clearly not. He posted himself literally where he's lost weight, and now he's gotten, like, I don't know, I think that video alone has more views than most of his mukbang videos have. So I don't know if you saw that contradiction in your video, if you just didn't notice it, you don't care. I don't really know. Inconsistency much, though. But of course it's going to be a big boom. It's something different, and it's something that everybody doubted him about. It's because people doubt people like me. And, well, to a lesser extent, him. You know, if he was starting off overweight, again. So I guess now is a good time to kind of segue into my portion, where I want to talk a little bit about my problems with weight loss. So I showed you in the beginning where I was at before, like in 2018, I think, 6 years ago. And I put back on way more than 80 pounds. Back before I started eating healthier again, which, by the way, was not of my own volition. I'm pretty financially strapped. And it's for good and for better, if I'm honest, because now I can't overeat. Now I'm forced to portion out. And it's honestly giving me a much more healthier relationship with food, because now I'm only eating to sustain my existence, not eating for pleasure, not eating because I'm having an emotional problem or whatever. And that's primarily why I'm so overweight. Because whenever I have emotional turmoil in my life, I go to food for comfort. Because back a long time ago, I won't go into too much of it, there's a lot of childhood trauma there, I would use food as a coping mechanism, and food was given to me as a reward for doing evil things with this person. And when I was not doing what they wanted, they would starve me. And so, unfortunately, because of that relationship with food, I'm constantly worried, like, I'm not going to have the next meal, and so, you know. But to kind of go to the actual weight portion, Nikocado Avocado looks about 150 in that video, probably, give or take. And his arm, I mean, you can see my forearm is bigger. And that's not all fat. The fat's like down there. You can see it wiggling. But my forearm, which there's not much fat on it, I can't really put the microphone down and squeeze it. I guess I could do in this arm. You can see that's mostly skin. That's not fat. My forearm is bigger than his bicep, which, again, I'll show you now. This, you can see, you know, when I lay it flat and then flex, how much bigger my body is in comparison to him. The same thing when I go like this with my shoulders, you know. You could see how much more just raising them up brings out my frame. So I have broader shoulders, I have bigger arms, so I have a bigger build. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because if I were to get to his weight, I would have to actually literally starve myself. So 185 to 190 is probably more along the lines of where I should be. I've had some people try to tell me 170. I'm like, dude, if I got below that, I wouldn't be able to lift anymore. So I couldn't be lifting weights because muscle weighs. You know, it has weight to it. And it weighs more than fat. So, or is it weighs more than fat or denser than fat? Or are they both? I don't remember these. Regardless, I would go out of my way to eat to soothe myself, whereas he made videos eating for content. Now, whether or not he did that to make himself more relevant because he was losing ideas, because in the beginning I was like reading some small amounts of literature regarding him and how he wasn't really getting much of anywhere with his like, oh, look, I'm making healthy food stuff, blah, 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 blah. But then once he started doing the extreme stuff and like, you know, everyone started like, whoa, this is interesting. You know, and that's because a lot of people can relate to that, because a lot of people do that. Maybe they're not to that extreme, but they do overeat and they do have an unhealthy relationship with food. And, you know, so for me personally, my unhealthy relationship is because I'm always worried I'm not going to have any food, even though I know that's not true and it's psychological. And also when I go through anything emotionally devastating, like, oh, I go through a breakup, oh, I go to eat, oh, no, like most specifically right now, actually, because I'm financially so unbelievably having issues that normally what I do is I would go to the gas station and spend like $40, no joke, $40 on a bunch of junk food. And it's like, it's just further self-destructive behavior. And, I'm like 33 and I'm finally starting to actually see this for what it's worth and doing something about it. Before, I just wanted to lose weight. And now I have staghorn calculi in my left kidney. I had one in my right. It was bilateral. I got that one removed, thankfully. My blood pressure's out of control. I have proteinuria. I have way too high of sodium, calcium levels. So all this stuff is catching up. It may not be here yet. I might not croak tomorrow. But if this continues on into my 40s, I ain't going to be around for very much longer. And I'm not going to be, go to the other side because I can't control how much I eat. It's just a dumb idea. There's so much better things in life than utilizing food that way. So anyways, that was just my little segment that I wanted to get out there about this, reasons for weight loss, weight gain, and this unhealthy relationship with food, and just my take on the whole predicament, and giving my own personal anecdotal experiences that I've had, in childhood, which led to my not so healthy relationship with it into adulthood.
The same way he was before, but now in a healthier place. And like I said last time when he had lost, I think it was like 89 pounds at the time, he seems happier. I'm not his therapist. I don't know Nick personally, but just from what comes across in the content, he seems happier at lower weights.
Of course he's happier. Being obese promotes depression, constant aches and pains. It puts too much pressure on your bones, on your joints. It promotes hypertension. And it can cause, I think, even anxiety. There's like a lot of neurological and demonstrable physiological problems that occur when you're obese. And also, eating that much food in general causes a lot of gastrointestinal problems. So it can disrupt your second brain, as they call it, because that's what it is. So apparently, I don't know how that works again, obviously, Not trying to talk biology here, not like I know that much about it. I'm just saying the stomach is considered the second brain. And so, when you're shoving all kinds of constant food into it, it's just never gives you a chance to digest, never gives you a chance to take a break. Because your body has other things it has to do besides digest food. And when it's constantly doing that, it has to dedicate so much energy to digestion. But when you're talking about happiness in this video, he seems more like he's happily conceited, because he likes to show up everybody who's like, yeah, see, you're just a big slob and you're never going to lose the weight and blah, blah, blah. You just talk about it like everybody else does and never act on it, because he's very monotone, very controlled, very serious. And someone to me who's happy be like, hey guys, I lost a bunch of weight. How are you all doing? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was a dream and I'm over it now. I did it for some fun and now I decided, it's better to be healthy. Like, what is happiness to you, bro? Like, I want to see what you think, like, somebody who's serious and, like, solemn looks like to you. If you think that video in particular is happiness, because he's very monotone, very solemn, very serious, and that to me doesn't come across happy. And then you even said, like, well, sometimes he likes to cry on video for the because he's emotional or something, and I don't always think he's doing it for antics or whatever, or for theatrics. That's a better way to say it. But in that very same video, you see him almost turn on the waterworks. Now, mind you, again, I don't know these people personally, so we can only ascertain so much from a video. And there was just a few cutoff points I wanted to make. If Nick Avocado ever discloses how he lost the weight, and he says that he did any of the, like, Ozempic or any of the other new weight loss drugs, then that completely throws this whole, like, monumental, phenomenal blah, blah, blah thing even further out the window for me. Because I've seen people get on that and lose a load of weight. I'm talking a load of weight in a very short amount of time, because you're utilizing medical science at that point. For instance, for me, when I was on keto and I would mess up, I had a little cheat code too. Now, granted, it caused a lot of psychological problems. It wasn't just something I could just and then, yeah, everything's better. But I would take my ADHD medication, a psychostimulant called Vyvanse. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it ramps up your metabolism. And it makes not eating almost too easy. So literally, I could ramp up my metabolism, go on like a 2-day fast, and boom, I'm right back to where I need to be at after like a binge, or if I just ate too many carbs one day or whatever. So to be on something that's even more superior than that, like Ozempic. Now, mind you, he may never discuss how he lost the weight, or he may just go over it in very, very minute details so as to keep the illusion going. But in my opinion, if he did any of that, it takes all the even further out the window to me. So anyways, this was my response. Kind of a long video, I know, but I wanted to pepper it with some of my own personal experience, and I really wanted to delve into this gentleman's video response to a weight loss to me that is reasonably high. 300 pounds is pretty high. I mean, 250, whatever. It's in the middle, 200, 300. It's closer to 300 than it is 200, in my opinion. You round up to 5, but we round up the next number to 5. It's usually how mathematics work. When it's at 5, you round it up to the next largest number. So yeah, it is a considerable amount of weight loss. And me losing 130 odd pounds, 140, something like that, pales in comparison to it. But again, he didn't start off obese. He was skinny. He already knew how to get there and how to stay there. Just doesn't come across the same way, doesn't have the same impact to me. If he was like Boogie 2988 again, and then did that, totally different story. All right. I got another video for you guys, and then I got an update to explain what's been going on and why I've been gone. So